welcome to Ask the Doulas. I am Alyssa Venacloss, your host, and today I am talking with Kristi Artz, the Medical Director for Lifestyle Medicine at Spectrum Health, and she's also the lead physician of the Culinary Medicine Program. Hey, Kristi.
Hi, Alyssa. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out of your day. I hear you're in the kitchen right now.
I am. I have, 3 school-age children myself, so it's just about school pickup time, and they have after-school activities, and they need a healthy meal to keep them well-fueled.
Yeah, so I recently met you because Gold Coast is involved in the Spectrum Health Foundation's LEAD program, where we meet different people from different programs throughout Spectrum Health, and then we allocate funds to those. And we met you because we were doing the Culinary Medicine Program, and we met you, and it was amazing. And I'm so happy that I got that recipe book from you guys. I have made they're the black bean brownies.
Oh, excellent. Yeah,
twice. My daughter loves them. She's vegan and gluten-free. So she's just over the moon that she can eat these. And I don't care because there's no sugar.
And it was so nice to meet you at that event, and we were thrilled to really just get in the kitchen and expose the program, the Culinary Medicine Program that we've been developing at Spectrum Health over the last year and a half, and just to gain wider exposure as to, what we can do in the program and how we're hoping to reach people and really better educate not only the, community members and individuals, but also, really involve nutrition more widely in how we train healthcare professionals and how we can integrate that in a more evidence-based way in the care of our patients.
Yeah, it's such an integral part of our overall health.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, what we're really seeing as we care for patients is, a vast amount of diet-related illness. So, chronic disease is really often the underlying trigger is oftentimes, to a certain extent genetics, but more so diet and lifestyle factors.
Right. Now, today we're going to talk about raising a plant-based family. And I got to thinking, is plant-based a new term? Is that just a new way to say vegetarian, or is it completely different?
Well, I personally, and I think as we look to the science of what a healthy diet looks like, I think a plant-based diet, specifically a whole food plant-based diet, is really a better term than necessarily vegan or vegetarian. You can certainly be a vegan whole food plant-based eater. You can be a vegetarian whole food plant-based eater. And there's only slight differences. The vegan pattern of eating obviously would exclude all animal-based products, but a vegetarian eating a primarily plant-based diet would be consuming mostly whole plant foods, lots of produce beans, legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, but maybe adding in a little bit of some dairy at times, or maybe adding in an egg if they prefer to do that at times. So again, I think when we talk about diet patterns, I think really pointing out what we want to be including in our diet, so more whole plant-based foods. So again, that's really why I like to use that terminology, and I think it's more approachable for many people. I know my experience as a doctor is that many people feel like they have a gut reaction when you say vegan or vegetarian. They feel that that's not something that is attainable for them in their lifestyle or maybe their family. But I think when we start eating more plant-based or plant-forward is another term I like to use, I think people feel like they can make some of those changes and it's not too overwhelming.
So plant-based doesn't mean not eating meat?
No, actually it doesn't. I think oftentimes it's becoming a loaded term again, like many of these dietary terms, that they're often then put in a category where plant-based eating is exclusively vegetarian eating. And like I said, it oftentimes is, but it can include a small amount of, well-sourced dairy or well-sourced fish. But I do like to point out that there are real indications for many people, and oftentimes with certain chronic diseases, to really advocate for a vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. And there's also good science to support doing that for better planetary health as well.
Right.
So it depends on what angle you're coming from. If you're looking for, a way to start to feed your family in a more healthy pattern, certainly a whole food plant-based eating pattern would be definitely supported by science and what we know about what a healthy diet looks like in terms of those nutritional studies that we look towards for the evidence.
So I like the term plant forward, because you're saying that it's not 100% plant-based, which I think was the confusion I had between plant-based and vegetarian. I'm thinking, what's the difference? You're saying that it needs to be heavily plant-based, and if you do eat some meat here and there or go outside of that, that's the focus.
Yeah, the focus really should be, how can you base your diet primarily around whole plant foods? And again, that includes not only produce, fruits and vegetables, but includes nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, and whole grains.
Okay.
So that should be the base of your diet. And when, again, you look to the evidence and the science of it, really, if you can achieve 90% of your dietary intake to be from a variety of whole plant foods, that leaves about maybe up to 10%, a little bit of wiggle room. And I think, again, that works really well for people who are healthy and trying to maintain their health and don't necessarily want to remove all animal products. The science would really support, eating in that pattern and leaving maybe that 10% of wiggle room for inclusion of some, high quality dairy products, or maybe some, fish that they want to include for omega-3 fatty acids. That's really what the science shows. Now, I know we're not going to be talking specifically about chronic disease necessarily, but if you find that you're affected by diabetes or hypertension or other cardiovascular disease, there really is an amazing body of research that supports eating an exclusive vegan, whole food, plant-based diet, and that can be part of your care of your illness, and it oftentimes can actually reverse some of the illness as well. So it's really powerful.
It is powerful, and I think it's also, like you said, really scary for someone to think about completely changing their diet like that. And is that part of the reason you started this culinary medicine program and have these amazing recipes to tell people it isn't as frightful as they think it might be, and might not be so hard, and they don't just have to eat bland foods?
Exactly.
Because I looked through that recipe book, and it's like, wow, there's so many great recipes, and you'd never know that every single one of these is healthy for you.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying that, and I'm glad you're enjoying the recipes. And yeah, that's really the premise behind the Culinary Medicine Program is, really over the last 20 or 30 years, we've had a pretty dramatic shift in how people feed themselves. And more it's focused on convenience and not focused on cooking food in the home. So, and as a result of that, foods that are oftentimes more convenient can very well be highly processed and contain, lots of salt or sodium. They can have a lot of saturated fat. They can have a lot of, preservatives and dyes and things that are going to create pretty widespread inflammation in our bodies, children and adults, and can put us at risk for those diseases that we want to try to avoid. So culinary medicine also realizes that as a program, that it's one thing to have awareness of what the science shows or to have knowledge around what a healthy diet looks like, but you also have to know how to cook and prepare that food. Right. But you don't want to spend all day necessarily doing that. So what we have tried to really implement quite broadly at Spectrum Health is a program that allows for basic skill development in the kitchen, as well as pairing that with some nutritional knowledge. So when you pair the skill and the knowledge, you can really make positive changes in your own home kitchen.
So who has access to the culinary medicine program? Is it spectrum health patients who are, let's say, battling diabetes or some of these other chronic illnesses, or could my mom off the street come in and say, I want to take a class and learn more?
Yeah, so both actually.
Okay.
So yeah, we're still planning and developing and really trying to see as we intentionally grow and expand the program that we're really making it as accessible as we can to not only patients who their doctors want to refer them to classes, but also community members who are looking to the health system that they trust to provide programming that can really help them achieve, better health and wellness goals that maybe they have set for themselves or, they worked on with their physician. Excitingly, as of yesterday, actually, we just launched our web pages on spectrumhealth.org. So if you search for culinary medicine, you can actually reach us directly, and you can have access to all of our 80 plus recipes that are now online and available to anyone
Oh, awesome.
who wants to use those.
Good timing.
Yeah, it was a lot of work getting that together. We had great support in doing, really creating that web page. And coming in January, and hopefully before that we'll be able to have this class listing up, but it will also be the place to go will be that webpage on spectrumhealth.org, the culinary medicine. It's spectrumhealth.org/culinary medicine.
Okay.
And that's where you're going to go to find all of those recipes. We also have some information sheets about how to build a healthy pantry, about phytonutrients, or those plant nutrients that are represented by the colors that plants often have, whether it's red or orange, and how those impact your health. And then we'll also have all of our class listings available there with online registration.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll have anything for pregnancy, like specifically for pregnancy or postpartum?
We don't have any specifically designed classes for pregnancy or postpartum yet, although we're in early conversations with a really awesome program through the Women's Health Centering Pregnancy, if you're familiar with that. Yeah. So we're in early conversations how we can support the great work that they're already doing with their group visits for pregnant moms. But we will be launching a seasonal plant-based series beginning in January, and those classes are for everyone. So if you're curious about how to, properly nourish your family, or if you're a pregnant mom now and you're wanting to learn ways to add more plant-based foods into your diet, that would be a great way to try out some new recipes, to, again, learn some of that nutritional science as to why you may want to look more and more to a plant-based or a plant-forward diet for you and your family. So that would be a great way to get involved.
Yeah, and did you say there are some tips on ways to kind of introduce this into your family?
Yeah, so like I said, I have 3 daughters myself, and when they were very young, and I was early out of my training program and residency, and my husband's actually a physician as well. We were just trying to get by day, and trying to feed our kids the best we could. But I think over the first couple of years of them being toddlers, we realized that, kids get colds often, and they get, respiratory viruses, or they get those irritating little GI bugs, or they have a lot of vomiting and diarrhea. And how could we best support their little bodies and their, immune systems so that they could be more resilient and have, better growth, better energy. And, I'm an emergency medicine doctor by training, so all of the nutritional training that I've undergone in the last decade or so has really been training that I've sought out personally, and has been incredibly beneficial, to how I practice medicine, and also how I think, feed my children. And a lot of that really transitioned us to a plant-based eating pattern for our entire family. I would say that my children are not exclusively vegetarian 100% of the time, but like I said, that 90% rule, they eat plant-based foods. They, they'll eat a lot of beans. And I would say that's a really good place to start. Beans have a great texture and flavor, and they have a great amount of fiber, they're filling, and it's not an ingredient that is often, I would say it's underutilized with children. It can be a great early finger food for toddlers, if you squash them up a little bit so they're not too round and a choking hazard.
Right.
But really, if we feed our children peas, which is great, why not try a black bean, or why not try a white bean, and just get children used to those different tastes and textures. And same goes with, using fresh herbs or adding spices to your meals, and not the heat spices or the real hot spices, but, whether it's warming spices or cinnamons and things like that, really just exposing children to those textures, those flavors. We eat a lot of soup in our house year-round, and that is a great way to start to transition to more plant-based eating. You can load, your soup up with tons of vegetables and beans. I like to make my own vegetable stock, and my do-it-yourself hack is to just keep a freezer bag, like a plastic freezer bag or a container that you can store all the trimmed ends of carrots and celery and mushrooms and tomatoes, and just pop them in your freezer. And then on the weekend or whenever you have an extra afternoon, let those simmer with just some water and a bay leaf, and you have, a really nutrient-dense vegetable stock that you can then use for, the base of your soup, or you can use it when you cook other whole grains or quinoa or things like that as well.
Oh, that's great. So how long do you have to boil it or simmer it?
I always thought it was longer than I've discovered it needs to be, because we do this all the time over the winter. And I would say when I'm really in a pinch, I can simmer it, a pretty good simmer or sort of a low boil for about an hour or so. And you strain it, and I get that really deeply colored. I think adding a tomato is always a great idea, and adding some mushrooms, because mushrooms have these amazing nutrient properties, and that can be a tricky vegetable for kids to really want to eat a lot of, but mushrooms are incredibly healthy, and finding ways to even sneak those into a young child's diet, I think, is a great idea, and a homemade vegetable stock is a really easy way to do that.
I'm going to try it.
Awesome. You'll love it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your time. Say the website one more time so people can find that, and then I will let you go, get back to cooking.
Yep. So it is spectrumhealth.org/culinary medicine. So please look us up. Please use our recipes. Connect with us and let us know what you think, or topics that you might be interested in, and we'd love to hear from you.
You can find us at goldcoastdoulas.com, listen on iTunes, SoundCloud, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Melissa.